China currently holds 85% of the rare earth refinement process in the world, and that's a national security and a supply chain risk. Just before the end of last year, China approved the making of one of the world's largest rare earth companies aimed at maintaining its dominance in global supply chain of strategic metals. Rare earth, as my guest today talks about, is critical for defense and military use. And to move away from China, it's a big question. Joining me is Luisa Moreno from Defense Metals Corp. She is the president and director. Luisa Moreno, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
Luisa, tell us, what is the danger of China having 85% ownership of these rare minerals in the world?
The issue is that the rest of the world is dependent on China for the green technology transition. So if you look at rare earth, for example, 85% of all the processing happens in China. And we need these elements for electric vehicles, for instance. They are used to make permanent magnet motors, the electric motors that go into electric vehicles. So, there are the rare earth, but many other elements that are controlled by China.
This sounds like a problem not with the source, but rather with the manufacturing process.
Well, rare earths exist in other parts of the world as well, but they are a little bit complex. They're not exactly like gold, for instance, as far as processing is concerned. It is important to develop processing technologies for different types of deposits or rare earth deposits. So China has spent decades researching processing technologies and exploring within their boundaries as well as outside for these deposits. And they have the technologies, and they are currently the experts in processing of rare earth. And we will have to do the same outside China.
Where is China getting their source of the rare earth minerals?
Well, China mines about 60% of the total rare earth in the world. And then they get about another 30% or so from Myanmar, as well as the United States and other parts of the world, where they then separate them. So in the United States, in the Mountain Pass mines, MP material mines rare earth, they produce a concentrate, a mineral concentrate, before the rare earths are extracted. And that is exported to China, where it is further processed into a chemical compound and then separated into elements. So that is essentially where China is getting a lot of the rare earth minerals to be processed.
And my understanding of the issue is that it's pollution that's the problem for processing rare earth. And so the United States hasn't been able to process because of that factor. Is that a valid way of looking at this?
I don't think so, David. Rare earth, like many other base metals, can be responsibly processed in a sustainable way. Unfortunately, many of the pictures that have come out of some of the mines in China, particularly the iron adsorption clays mines, where there are lots of clays and they are mined in situ. And there are pictures that shows folks essentially covered in clay, and it's very dangerous, the in situ mining, and it affects the environment. There is no doubts about it. But outside China, even in the United States, in Mountain Pass have been processing, even separating rare earth elements for decades as well, very responsibly. And then they end up trying to expand. The previous company, Molycorp, tried to expand, and they got into some technical issues. They tried to change the process somewhat, and that is where they end up having some technology challenges. But you can absolutely, process rare earth in a sustainable and environmentally responsible way. It is not dirty, definitely not more dirty than base metals, for instance.
And is it possible for the United States to take the lead over China?
Definitely. I think there's no other way. I don't think it is possible in North America, in the West, in most parts of the world to really produce minerals in a way that is not environmentally responsible. So definitely not in the United States, not in Canada, where, for instance, we have defense metals with the Wachita deposit, advancing it as well to production. So I think that Canada and the United States together with the various deposits could potentially, with significant investments, bring about more production of or mining of rare earth beyond what we have right now in Mountain Pass, and then build a supply chain to be able to then separate the elements and make metals out of them and compounds and so forth.
How are these earth minerals being used in the United States and other countries?
It's used in pretty much every industry that you can think about. They're used in defense applications, like missiles. They are used in agriculture to make fertilizers. They're used in medicine, for instance, in the MRI machines. So I mentioned as well green tech applications. They used to make permanent magnet motors, or they used in permanent magnet motors for electric vehicles as well as wind turbines. It's just endless applications for these elements.
Do you see China having more than 80% of the ability to produce rare earth a national security risk?
Well, that is the current reality, right? China already controls more than 85% of the refining of these elements. And in some cases, it's 100%, definitely more than 90% in some of the so-called heavy rare earth. So the issue is real and exists. And if China was to stop exporting these critical elements to the United States, there would definitely be a crisis where they would not have them for some of the military applications that they are used in.
What's your biggest concern right now regarding the situation?
My biggest concern is that there is continuing increasing demand for rare earth. And China is not going to be able to perpetually, as demand increases, to continue to supply the world with the rare earth that we need for the various applications that I mentioned. So it's important to have more investments. And the rest of the world is really very wary of having China, especially the Western world, of having China coming in and investing in some of these rare earth projects, lithium projects for that matter. And if that is not going to happen, I think it's important for governments in Canada, the United States, Europe, and others to support junior mining companies so that they can develop their projects and support the development of supply chains. Because if that does not happen, together with the capital markets, of course, we might end up in severe scarcity outside China for these elements.
And what can we do?
They are, in a way. I think they have put some funds towards the green agenda, but I think there is more to be done. I think they need to put significant funding in the billions of dollars towards critical materials and emphasize those that are critical, like the rare earth and others, and then so that companies are able to apply for these grants or favorable loans or whatever it is going to be that is really dedicated specifically for critical materials. That has to be out and coordinate that with other programs that already exist in Canada and in Europe as well as Australia. So it is time for the United States to step up.
Luisa Moreno, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, David.